intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey Star Trek League of Men fans, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to answer a question that many of you are asking: as more and more players level up in the game, should you get the level 50 epic ships? And I'll admit that just like stylistically, I love their designs. And keep in mind that when these came out, I was a young man and it's been a couple years. So as we get more and more players moving up to be in that range, you see the Deuce decks now, but we're going to focus on things like the Tribune, things like the Enterprise A. I've always really enjoyed them. I mean, the Tribune looks like a, what did we have before we had the Deuce decks? It's this blocky mammoth of a beast, and I'll be honest, I like it as a ship. I'll explain why in a little bit. But you also have the Explorer version, which is of course the Enterprise A. So many of you will love the Enterprise A simply because it's the Enterprise. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But I would add that this is the Enterprise from the Kelvin verse, that you never actually really got to see this Enterprise A out, but you can see the differences if you put it side by side with the regular Enterprise. Or when I say regular Enterprise, I'm talking about the Kelvin Enterprise. So yeah, it's I think it's a beautiful design. And then you have, which is my least favorite design. I was honestly not a big fan of the Klingon designs from the Kelvin era. So that has the Hegta being the one. That's not an ugly bird. In fact, I would argue it's prettier than the D4 is, but this is your epic there. So the question now becomes, which one of these should you get, if any? And that is going to really come down to your particular play style, especially your spend level. And I don't ever try to really like get in y'all's pockets, right? Like what y'all spend from your wallet is up to you. And yes, I have a Dragon Ball Z wallet. People have asked about it before. Yes, it's Dragon Ball Z. I'm a nerd. Were you surprised by that? So anyway, let's talk about the pros and cons of each one of these ships. Number one, like literally before anything, we got to talk about this: total cost, firing patterns, and ship ability. So why do I want to focus so much on this, you might ask? Well, the biggest thing is, as you can see at the top of these charts, these all cost 1 million faction credits to get. Now, I do want to add that if you've been following my channel, I have taught you ways to get a lot of this relatively quickly. For example, if you've been following you're a player in the 40s, you've been following my recommendation with getting Neelix, you should have picked up the shirt, limited time. You missed out on it. Should have got Neelix, because Neelix allows you to summon in those deep or DQ Borg spaces, meaning more commerce insignias, but also faction messages. So like people have been watching the stream, I pull faction messages literally every day, and I have got several months saved up to the point that when we're talking about at the faction level, I'm getting, you know, a good solid, let's go pull it right in front of you so I can show you. For this one, be my Romulan, that's 700 a day. That is extra lagniappe, as we would say down here in Louisiana. Les le bon temps roulé. So 700 might not seem like a lot, but if you did that literally every day, you would end up with what, 250-ish thousand faction credits. And that's if you just did this. That doesn't also count what you get from your daily turn-ins, your Borg turn-ins, literally several other options. So the ability to obtain faction credits has gotten easier. It's not incredibly easy, but it is easier. Just like I have the away team mission Imperial Strategy right here. Critical success giving me 2,000 faction credits a day. So just right in front of you on this video, I've done 2,800 faction credits. And again, that is not enough to go and give what we were just talking about, because that is the biggest bottleneck. The biggest issue with these three ships, and when you decide if you're going to get them or not, is the overall cost. And they all cost 1 million faction credits total to get.
Yeah, just pain. It was pain everywhere. So we got to keep on pushing.
Now, you can offset this slightly by acquiring some of their blueprints in the away team store. At this point, they've still not added the 5-star ones in there, the 5-star ships. So using them on the 4-star ships makes a lot of sense. So you could come down here, and if I wanted to work on my Hegta, I could with the 555,000 I have saved up and start working on chest pulls, and that would save me faction credits. The biggest point I'm trying to make when you're making this decision is not what their abilities are, whatever. It really comes down to, number one, do you want to pay the cost of having a level 50 epic ship? And that really is the biggest point. If you can justify that to yourself, like you're okay with that, then it's easy. Then it just comes down to, okay, let's start pulling epic armada chest and seeing, does this help us out? Let's start doing our daily pulls and making sure that we're doing everything we can to get as many faction credits as possible. I think right now I can earn at level 49 something like 70,000 a month or something like that, maybe a little bit more, not counting events, not counting battle passes, none of that, just straight away team stuff like that. And I would have to remath it. If y'all remember, we had a calculator where you can see how much faction credits you get every day, and that's also assuming I do all my events and yada yada yada. So let's talk about cost of these ships beyond just the initial thing. What's it going to cost me uncommon, and how far should I take them? Now, if you remember, I operate on the 5-7-9 rule, as in when I look at faction ships, specifically going 40s, 50s, I follow the 5-7-9 rule. Tier 5 is going to be good at just about anything. It's not going to be great, but it will be good / passable at anything that you want it to be. And here's what I mean by passable, because I don't want it to sound like I'm, insulting the poor things, but just giving you an idea of what I mean just by a comparison. So, for example, right here, these ships have warp range at 205 base, but if you've done your research, you're at like warp 220. These at tier 5, they'll also be relatively powerful. You have enough officer slots below deck to actually be able to boost these and use these in a variety of ways, and you're not spending a ton of resources. Now, you might get sticker shock looking at these, but keep in mind, these are base numbers. That's not the actual cost of what these would be if we wanted to actually unlock them. The actual cost is significantly lower because we're going to assume that you've done a lot of your research. If you haven't done your research, well, I don't know what to tell you. Do your daggum research, ladies and gentlemen. Just do your research. The fact that so many people are just like, I'll get around to it. And then by the time you get around to it, you're like, oh no, I can't do this. I wonder why. So anyway, let's talk about a Tribune. Just a Tribune by itself. What would it cost in, say, where my research is currently at? So to give you a kind of like a comparison point between where is base cost to regular cost. If I was to take mine, or one I don't have, let's say we took one to all the way to tier 5, the base cost would be, as you see, but it would only cost me right around, let's see, 100,000 ship parts versus the 375,000. It would cost me 60,000 ore versus 160 and like 32,000 crystals. I'm trying to remember the numbers I had from Spock's Club. So you can see significantly less, and all that's just based on research. Now, let's talk about the next level. So tier 5 is, you're good at everything. You haven't invested heavily into it. There's no rares involved. So this is actually really easy to do if you made the decision to spend 1 million faction credits. Next up on the list will be the tier 7 versions of it. So swing it on around. As you can see, now we're spending rares, but you do have another officer slot below decks, and you haven't invested too heavily in the rares, so you have invested. But here is your base cost. If you want to go then to tier 9, again, tier 9 does not cost any epics yet, but you have had to make a pretty significant investment in the rare category, specifically that gas. And then you look at the uncommon ship parts, just the base cost of 2.4 million. You're not just going to have a lot of those laying around. That's a lot. And even with my research, that would still be like 680-ish thousand ship parts, right? That's a lot. Again, I am showing you base cost. Sticker shock's real, but having something to compare it to is legitimate. And we always try to give you that comparison. For those who are unfamiliar with Spock's Club, it is a fantastic tool that we've recommended for a long time. That if you use it, it can help you see what you are going to have to spend to then get what you're looking for in the game. In fact, I just have a screenshot of what that is. I'll put it like right here, my cost for all that. So that's what it is if you want to take this bad boy to tier 9. And if you're really, really crazy, you can max it out. And here are your max out costs right there. This is where it starts costing epic. And unless you're a heavy spender, would not recommend these. Keep in mind that you can't really do anything scrap wise with these. You're not getting anything really good in return. So you're just making a heavy investment on whether or not you want the power that these could bring. And we've seen tier 12 of these Tribune Enterprise A Hectile be quite beefy. But with the 53s right around the corner, you know, the Vorcha, the Corvus, those are really good ships. The Northcut, you probably don't want to get here. So this is tier 12. Remember, the 5, 7, 9 rule is 5 is good at everything. 7 means that you're great at PvE and you're great at armadas, but you're good at PvP. And then getting to tier 9 puts you in that great at PvP range for ships of around your area and your level. The tier 12s are just a little bit too much extra for me. As far as what my decision is, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really decided yet for this account what I'm going to do. On other accounts, I've skipped the 50s, and the big reasoning has been the faction costs. They're just so expensive to invest in. But right now I'm sitting on 468,000 Romulan credits. I'm then sitting on 271,000 Klingon credits, and the Federation 500,000. Of course, I've got the most of this with the least amount of rep. But here's my current thoughts. I want to have 2 Novas on this account, and I also want to have at least 1 level 53 ship. Between those costs, it might not be advantageous for me to go after a 50 epic. Depends on how long I'm here. But the biggest key and the biggest hurdle is that initial hurdle that I told you about. Now, final thing we're going to do on this is recommendations. Which one do I think is the best? The Tribune, hands down. Not thumbs down, hands down. Why? The ship ability. So what the ship ability does when burning, it increases the shots of every weapon by 1, but that is built upon the actual percentage of, well, what level is it? The higher the level, the more shots that it adds. So if you'll notice, I've got it set right there where it shows you up to level, 45, and you see 400%, that's 4 more shots, and that would be a tier 9. Or if you're down at level 35, which would be a tier 7, still getting 300%, which is plus 3 shots. And that is super heckin' powerful, valuable. You can see the firing patterns of all of them here and the percentages here. Now, the Hectile did not go up to 450% because it adds critical chance, but to be honest, I actually feel like it's the best in terms of lower level. But as you level up, you're probably going to be hitting crits. And we all know how crit is a really divisive topic right now. And I think Scopely is looking at ways to try to like offset the ability to zero out damage. So maybe that actually makes it more powerful. We'll see what they have doing with that. And then this is the weakest one of the group, though it does have just raw oomph compared to other ships. So what you decide to do is completely up to you. If I had to make a recommendation, I would probably say for the average player, skipping them is a viable strategy and just using your Coronar and your Pylum and your specialty ships to carry you into the 50s. But if you're like me and you're a collector of ships, you love ships, and you were going to sit around for a while, like I have no desire to just take another account into the 50s and be like, woo-ha! Just, I know what's up there. Pain. Lots of pain.
Yeah, just pain. It was pain everywhere. So we got to keep on pushing.
So because of that, I'm probably going to play a little bit slower. And maybe those 3 or 4 months I play, even as I'm pushing into the early 50s, I pick up an early 50s ship. We'll see. But this is all the information that you need to know that's pertinent to you based on how the ships are, their firing patterns, their cost, and how they work. And if you have any questions, as always, all you got to do is ask in the comment section down below. I say it all the time. I mean it. Or you hit me up on Discord. Yeah, you can do that too. But either way, comment down below. Live long and plunder. Stay safe for the Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next Star Trek Fleet Command video. And yeah, I'm out.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.